Rachel, we've basically asked every guest the same question, so I'll start with you here. Your reaction.
I don't think anybody can believe that this is real. I mean, every layer that comes up, the report that comes out, no, wait, no, okay. And then you're grappling with the fact that he really was on that helicopter, and then the report about his daughter, Gigi, who we've seen so much more in the public eye the last year or two. You mentioned him bringing her to basketball games and, part of the memes that go around of Kobe explaining to her parts about the game. But the fact that he was so passionate about her learning and that they were on the way to one of her basketball games, it's one of the so many things about this that seems so unfair and so unreal. And I think it's going to be a long time before all of us can really process it.
I think that's well said. You have probably spent more time with the NBA's biggest superstars than anybody in the media, and then obviously that would include Kobe Bryant, because his star hardly dimmed after he left after the 2015-2016 season. He became an Academy Award winner. He joined ESPN in a television role as well to break down games. I wonder if you could give us a story or something about Kobe that the average viewer or the average fan wouldn't know, but you got to know over your time reporting and covering on him.
I mean, sure, this is going to be a story that sounds like lots of people's Kobe stories, and that he had this infinite belief in himself and the way that things were supposed to be. And I think sometimes in his later years, in his prime, people saw his insistence on the way things should be as a negative quality. For him, it was just such a clarity on a belief of how things should go. I first got to know Kobe as a rookie. I was a very young reporter. I've told the story a bunch. Kobe and I have talked about it on camera in an interview together. I was young. I was a young female reporter that was not necessarily welcome in every locker room that I was in. Sometimes you get your questions answered, but 3 or 4 words here or there, people not really looking to trust you or think that what you had to say or what they might say to you is important. And I went to go do a story on Kobe Bryant, and sort of introduced myself and expected the kind of like, yeah, brush off. And instead, he sat down on a bench and we talked for 45 minutes. And one of the things he talked about was being a young player on that team that was at the time an older team. And they didn't love in total all the time having this young kid come straight from high school with so much hype and so much attention. And he got hazed a lot. This is obviously all well documented. And he talked to me a lot about being younger and not necessarily welcome. And he sort of looked at me and he said, we're going to be fine. He's like, we're going to be good. They don't know what's coming. And that was my first real interaction with Kobe Bryant. And obviously he was correct. He was going to be just fine, and they had no idea what was coming.
He was a father, a husband, an NBA legend. I mentioned he won an Academy Award. Can you talk to us about his role just outside of basketball? I know he's a father of 4. Mostly everybody watching knows him from his basketball exploits, but there was so much more, I sense, to the man after everybody we've spoken to today.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, here's a guy who had one of the most legendary careers in any sport, right? Not just in basketball, but in any sport ever. Walked off the court and within 2 years had won an Oscar. That's crazy, right? And he's the same guy who, of course, snapped his Achilles, took 2 free throws and walked off the court. The same guy who, in his last professional basketball game, dropped 60 points. I was at that game that night, and I remember Shaquille O'Neal saying to me, yeah, I challenged him, man, go for 50. And then he said, the mother bleeper dropped 60 instead, because that's who Kobe was. He was relentless off the court as much as you saw him be on the court. And I think the thing that sticks out the most, whether it's his entertainment exploits, what he did for us at ESPN with detail, and that series and the level of insight that he showed there, or all of the things he did with his daughters or other parts of his life, is that he had this relentless curiosity. He wanted to know. If I was off covering something else in an entirely different sport and it was a big thing and he had questions about it, I would get a note from him being, oh, what about this? What's happening here? Tell me about this. He was infinitely curious about everything. And when he stepped off the court for the final time, one of the things he saw, in a way that a lot of athletes who I have seen have that level of stardom and then have a tough time adjusting to their post-career life, is he was relentlessly curious about what else he could do. There are so many players, especially players who are that great, where being that person, being Kobe Bryant, the basketball player, would have been just the sum total of their identity. And having to be someone else, Kobe Bryant, the ex-basketball player, there's a lot of people for whom that would have been very difficult. For him, being the ex-basketball player just meant that he could then be the current something else. And he was so eager to find all the different things that that could mean. We've seen sort of the entertainment side with his projects that he did, but again, to go back to his daughter, which seems so appropriate right now, the way he loved being on the court with them, talking with people like me, bragging about them. His daughter played volleyball, Gigi's basketball, and teaching them the game and sharing that part of his love with them. Tracy McGrady, who is on our show, The Jump, obviously a longtime friend, rival of Kobe's. They're very close. And just this past month and a half, Tracy McGrady has an 8th grader, and Kobe Bryant's daughter Gigi and her team were competing in this series of tournaments. And it was for 8th graders, boys and girls. And so Kobe and Tracy would be in the stands for their kids' games, just like always, Kobe Bryant and Tracy McGrady. But instead they were, I joked with them, I called them my two dads, and they were enjoying this part of their lives and getting to be having that relationship in a whole new way. And that was Kobe Bryant these days. He was someone who loved his kids and loved the world and what was open to him for it.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.